Joining us for the final time this year is Wellington Mayor Tory Whanau. Good morning, Tory.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm great. Talk me through the last couple of weeks. Hectic, crazy.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a break?
Intense but good. So we've had our final LTP meetings and council, and probably the two major decisions that we made this week were a council decision on opposing the Treaty Principles Bill at a really strong majority, and of course our LTP amendment, which only 2 councillors voted against. Okay. And so I think that's quite a big win. I
want to get into that treaty stuff a little bit later in the show, but I want to start by us reflecting the year. You ready?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I love doing this, and I know that it annoys a lot of people, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your own performance this year, January to December?
Okay, so I think probably around mid-year, I think it's gone up and down, right? So mid-year was probably around the 5. And, you know, if I were to do things differently on certain things, I would.
Tell me what those would be.
I think, you know, how the whole reading thing was handled, how the airport was handled. I feel like I could have read the room a little better, perhaps. So that's actually what I focused on with the LTP amendment, is reading the room, working more as a collective, and actually I feel like not everyone will agree, a lot of people won't agree, but I feel like I've ended on a 7 or 8.
Okay, so let's talk about reading the room, because if there is some criticism of you, it's that you read the green room, but the other colours don't count.
I think if anything, it's been the opposite of that, and that's perhaps where I've fallen down. So, you know, me being quite, publicly supporting, reading in the airport sale, that's actually, that upset my base. And so with the LTP amendment, what I did was actually just come back to what I stood for when the issues I was standing for as mayor, what I was elected to do, and that was what I've focused on when developing this LTP. Some of those projects earlier this year were actually not in line with what I promised I would do, and that's when I think things didn't go so well.
So you talked about changing. How have you changed?
I think, again, it's the reading the room thing. It's remembering why I stood.
Can I just interrupt there? Because the reading of the room thing is that people don't want you to be quite as green. They don't want the cycleways. They don't want all the green initiatives.
I don't think that's true at all, because, you know, I think where my performance started to shake a bit was when I wasn't being green. Okay. And that's when all the negative articles came out. So I've come back to what I promised to do, and actually the media has been really great. I know there's a very loud group of people who don't want cycleways, but when I was elected, I made a promise that I would deliver that and more. I have to stick to what I promised, and that's what I'm doing. You
also promised to sort out reading.
Not as an election promise.
No, but you did promise that you were going to sort that out early on in the piece.
I did.
Yep.
Yeah, and it didn't go through.
They tell me that it's close to a sale. Is that true or not?
I have no idea. So council council is like, so we went in, we did our bit. It didn't work, so we've had to back out because it's not our property.
Okay.
And I mean, if it's near a sale, oh goodness, I hope it is. And
you've heard nothing?
Soon. Nah, nothing.
Okay. Right, you say a 7. Right now you're sitting at a 7 out of 10. Okay. Well, okay, that's your thoughts, and that's what I'm asking you. What about the council? If we put the council out of 10, as a whole, not just your mates, your Rebecca Matthews and your buddies, but the whole council.
I think as of this week, also a 7. Like, I think if you go through our meetings, if you go through what we've decided, deciding not to sell the airport and then come together to develop an amendment that cut, approximately $300 million off the books, I think is an incredible feat. And we've done that in a matter of weeks.
How was the meeting the other day? Because I heard it was very hostile and jeering from the crowd and arguments and, race calling and name calling.
Yeah, it was...
back to the old days?
No, I think it was really debatey and loud. It's the sort of stuff you would see in the House at Parliament. And what I said at the end is, yes, there was some heated debate. This is politics. This is what happens at council. So, yes, there were some heated discussions, but This is Wellington City Council. We're in a political city. We're right next door to government. I see nothing wrong with that.
Okay. If you were sitting down with a group of people and they said to you, Tory, what have been the wins for the Tory Whanau mayoralship this year? What are the wins that you can accredit to yourself?
I think our council has invested the most ever into water infrastructure, $1.8 billion, and we've passed the resolution to move forward with the regional model that has been led by Kerry Prendergast. We've delivered more cycleways, which is what I promised. I've retained the Golden Mile, my key project, even given the opposition from the government. We've invested $500 million into social housing. Housing is a huge priority for me. And we passed the district plan, which was a very complicated piece of work. Those are things that I'm deeply proud of.
What impact? No, I will ask you something else. Your regrets. What did you get wrong that you could have changed?
I think, if I'm honest, like the thing with reading, right? I was probably too focused on the outcome. Is that, I wanted development there. I wanted spades in the ground this year, and that's what I was focused on. Probably too much of the outcome, and didn't listen enough to other councillors about what their concerns were. I probably would have approached that quite differently, and you maybe listened a bit more.
You keep saying that you maybe listened a bit more.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I hear in the streets as a businessman and as a person connected to Wellington, is that you're not listening. You didn't listen in Thorndon. You didn't listen with the Golden Mile. You didn't listen with the Reading. You don't listen. That's the question.
No. I think let's be upfront here. I listen, and what happens is I don't agree, and then I get accused of not listening. The thing is, I don't just represent people like yourself, Nick. I represent students. I represent diverse communities. And as we heard through submissions and consultation, over half of the people who've participated want the Golden Mile. So yes, I listened. I heard we would make some.
Do you think that
the people
that wanted the Thorndon, and I'm not, I'm obviously involved in the Golden Mile, so I'm putting Thorndon in there as well, and the cycleways to Karori and the cycleways around. Do you think the people that wanted them are the people that are going to make Wellington better? I mean, I know that they're a very important part of Wellington, but, if you perhaps were more orientated to look after the movers and shakers that make Wellington better, those people will be able to get more jobs. They will be able to do more because we'll have more in our economy going.
So there are, so I listen to movers and shakers, but there are also other movers and shakers that might not be in your circle. I'm talking about younger business owners, tech, screen, retail, fashion, who want these projects to go ahead. They want a city that is safe to walk, is efficient with public transport, and perhaps doesn't rely on cars as much. That is what they want. This is why they elected me.
Okay. I mean, I won't argue with that. What impact has the Crown Observer made?
I think it's actually had a really positive impact. So, as you would have seen, we welcomed Lindsay with open arms. He's a really decent guy. He's very knowledgeable, very friendly. He really does kind of just stand back and observe. And if we ask him for advice on a legislative matter around the LTP, he'll give it, like a independent view. I think his presence has helped us as a team work collaboratively a bit more, knowing that there is a pair of eyes there. I think it's been good.
How do you think, because I wasn't there and I've only seen little bits and pieces of it, and I've heard from some people that were there for the last council meeting. He looked a little bit agitated by the end of it and was talking to you at the end of that meeting. What did he say to you at the end of that meeting?
No, he said, well done. He's like, because he's, we successfully passed the LTP amendment.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think he would have written to Simeon Brown on his notepad? What do you think he would have said to him? Because it was, it was reasonably hostile, wasn't it? Let's call it what it was.
I'm not going to agree with that.
You don't think it was reasonably
hostile?
I don't
think it. Okay, again.
Someone calls a councillor, calls another councillor a racist
She
slur.
didn't.
She didn't call
it? She didn't directly call.
Okay. But the race card was paid. Was it or not?
I mean, it was, but if you were to pull back from the wider issue, Nick, we were talking about the Treaty Principles Bill, which I know that you opposed as well,
Yeah.
and you were supportive of the march.
Yep.
Let's kind of take it back there and think about the serious issue.
Yep.
A lot of tangata whenua are very hurt by that bill, and I applaud her for standing up for us.
But she called one of her fellow councillors.
No, she didn't.
She didn't?
She didn't.
Well, why are they taking legal action?
I mean, you'll have to talk to them about it.
No. You don't believe there was any racial connotations in that council meeting?
There were connotations, yes, but she did not call someone a racist directly. It was just part of the general debate, as people are entitled to do. She feels very passionate about this topic, and again, I thank her as an ally, but let's not get bogged down by two people talking at each other. Let's talk about the wider issue that this bill is causing.
Okay. I want to get onto the bill as a separate issue as we go on during the hour. Barbara McKerrow, does she finish up tomorrow?
No, she is here until the end of January.
Okay. Good to see her go?
No, I'm sad to see her go. I think she's been an incredible CE, but, this is her decision, and she's due well-earned rest.
What are your thoughts going forward?
Again, she's built a really fantastic team who really trust and love her, and I think she will be handing over a fantastic organisation to the new CE.
Right. Have you met him personally?
Yes, I have.
Your thoughts?
He's great.
Will he make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, what's your...
Well, will he get Wellington great again? I mean, we've been in the doldrums. We've had a few issues. So will he be the guy that comes in and grabs you and says, come on, Tory, let's go. We're going to make Wellington great again.
Like Barbara, he'll be part of the solution. But again, we have to. You can't just kind of put it all on the council. We have to work together. He'll be part of that.
Right. Okay. Take a short break and back with Wellington Mayor Tory Whanau as we wrap the years with the local mayors, 19 minutes past 10. Joining us in the studio for the final time this year is Wellington Mayor Tory Whanau. Tory, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Local Government Minister Simeon Brown announced on Monday they want councils to focus on more of the basics. There will be a new annual report on councils' performance, and next year there'll be legislation Brown says will keep rates down. You hit out at his announcement telling the government to stick to their lane. What do you mean by that?
The announcement wasn't a surprise because they basically hinted at this at the local government conference earlier this year. And if we remember, much of the local government industry did not take to that very kindly because we've had, the National Party during their election campaign promised localism and giving local authorities the ability to lead their towns and cities. This goes completely against that. So they're expecting us to, take care of things of infrastructure and so forth, which is what we're doing, but without their help. So when you take water infrastructure in particular, transferring over to a water entity is actually creating a challenge for Wellington City Council and could put a several $100 million burden on us. And because of the way that we fund depreciation and so forth. The previous government promised no worse off funding, which would have helped with that. This one doesn't. So it puts Wellington Regional in a bit of a bind. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not down with them instructing us on what to do when they're not necessarily providing us the assistance to deal with the really big issues like infrastructure.
The idea of an annual report, this actually makes perfect sense, doesn't it? So we laymen can just pick up this report and know exactly where we're going rather than get into the weeds and try and read the annual stuff that the council give out.
I mean, sure, that's fine, but their KPIs may not align with what actually the city wants. And what I've reminded them of is Wellington City elected particular people because they believe in...
What you're saying is they went green.
They went green and red. And so that kind of gives us a mandate to deliver on things like climate action, housing, transport and cycle lanes. This government doesn't agree with that. So we have to figure out how we kind of marry that up.
Which I have always agreed with. I've always agreed that we voted you in. We voted for what you represent. We've got what we wanted.
As well as our electorate MPs.
Absolutely. Do you reckon if there was an election tomorrow, status quo would be there?
Yes.
that's where we disagree.
And that's
But
okay.
that's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah. What would this new legislation look like? Have you seen it? Have you heard what it's going to look
No,
like?
no, I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, so you're not worried about it, not concerned about it?
Not until I see it, I suppose.
Okay. I want to talk about the dreaded rates. I just got my rates bill the other day. I can't afford to pay it. I cannot afford to pay it. I looked at it and I went, this is now out of control for me and I'll have to sell something. There'll be a lot of people like me around Wellington. Do you really care?
Of course I do. But again, we're put into the position of having to upgrade our infrastructure, which is like a huge chunk of that rates increase, paying for transport and investing in the city that previous councils have not done.
But a huge chunk of it's going to be things like toilet blocks that cost too much, bike racks that cost too much, cycle lanes that cost too much, Golden Mile that cost too much. Surely, if you really cared, you'd say, yep, I understand how my people are. I understand they can't afford these rates. Let's stop doing something for a while.
I do care, but this is what Wellingtonians have asked for. You know, it's what I promised. I've been very upfront about the cost and the impact it could have on rates. If we don't invest in it now, it'll only become much more expensive and our city will literally crumble away. This is unfortunately the downside of living in an earthquake-prone city that hasn't had its infrastructure sufficiently funded and
Well, some would say that it's previous to you. I'm not blaming you for this, but previous to you that we've been having councils that want to keep spending and do things like Takina and spend money that we don't have.
I mean, do you disagree with Takina?
Personally, I don't, but I could understand, when people get their rates bill that they would. And it's been not as successful as what me and you both want it to be.
But that's because of the general economic downturn. Any convention centre is going through that difficulty. But again, something like Takina was intended to drive our local economy and drive people to other parts of the city. Yes, we've had COVID and the economy is not great, and that has reflected on Takina. At that time, it was decided a couple of terms ago. I would have too voted for it. The national government of that time also supported it. They didn't provide any funding towards it like they have other convention centres. We fronted it ourselves.
Yes.
I'm glad that we did. It will, when things start to come back, it will have a massive impact. In fact, it's injecting more activity into our local economy. If that wasn't there, we'd be worse off.
Okay. Is there anything you can cut? Is there anything you can... 15.9 is the latest prediction, right? It's honestly... Tory, and I'm not over-emphasising this, it's too tough, it's too hard.
So what we've done for the last 5 weeks is cut about, the costing will come back in February, but between $300 to $400 million. So we have made cuts already. We may need to make more next year, but what we've come to is a collective of, or a budget that people have asked for and that all of our councillors have had input into. But we have made cuts.
What do you say to the people of Pororua? Anita Baker was on the show yesterday, and their rates increase were likely to be 10%, but they kept it down. They went hard, cut staff, did a whole lot of things, and they got it to 6%. That's just like a dream to Wellingtonians. What do you say to the people of Pororua?
Yeah,
they're lucky enough to live out there.
Well, and that's great for Porirua. We're the capital city. We have different requirements. We have the town hall, convention centre, we have, there's a lot more expectation from our city compared to Porirua.
But we have 15.9% rate increases.
It will be brought down to 12.8%, and I don't disagree.
Can you promise us? Can you promise that?
I can promise that. I promise that.
Right.
So it's quite normal for the initial draft rate, because from a legislative perspective, we have to announce it and say this is where it's come to. It's always that high at the beginning of the annual planned year, and then we look at other ways to bring it down, and that will certainly happen. But we have to remember again, we are the capital city. The same people who complain about it dying and looking ugly are the same people who don't want to invest in it. It's kind of like this is where we're at. I wish previous councils had fronted up then when it would have been much lower cost. They didn't because they wanted to keep rates lower. I'm taking it on the chin here, and I will do it.
Can I quickly just tell you this story, and I want to get your reaction really quickly because we've got to go to the news break, but a certain building in Courtenay Place was for sale 4 years ago for $3 million. They had offers of over $2 million, but decided not to sell it. Last week it sold for $950,000. Now, that's because people can't afford the rates. People can't afford to pay the rents anymore. They don't have any idea what's going to happen in Courtenay Place in the future. So does that sort of stuff, those stories concern you of this capital city that we're all saying so great? $950,000 for a building on Courtenay Place? Never heard of.
Well, I mean, I've never heard of that. I haven't heard that story. I don't know anything about that building. It could be, as we know, there are a lot of earthquake-prone buildings in the area, and their value has dropped significantly because of that.
Yep.
I'm making assumptions that is the case.
Still, if it was, it would have still been 3 years ago.
But if you, I would ask you, Nick, would you prefer to keep Courtenay Place as it is now and do nothing?
You know what? If you're asking me that question, not as a talkback host, but as a person, I would say for the next 3 years, 100%.
Really?
100%. Because there's going to be, like we heard a caller the other day, there's going to be 42 businesses go broke over the next 2 years. So
I suppose you're answering as a business owner.
That's what I'm saying. I am saying. And I am saying that. I did make my clear. But let's take a break. We're getting into the weeds a little bit. And it's not about me and you. It's about our people.
Very true.
It's about our people. 29 minutes to 11. I want to talk to you about the Business Advisory Group. 2 members have resigned. Bigwig developer Mark McGuinness and bar owner Justin McKenzie are gone. McKenzie said that he wants to, rather than sitting in a room with a cup of tea, he wants action, and he wasn't sort of getting those actions. Mark McGuinness wouldn't talk to the media, but has resigned. Has this advisory group worked for you? Has it helped you? Has it done anything for you personally?
It has. So we've gotten some good things out of it, like, one thing that this group asked for was a creative market to be hosted in Wellington, where we could showcase our artists, fashion people and so forth. So we're currently in negotiations with PANS to perhaps come here in 2026. So it's kind of like about generating ideas like that given it's such a tough time for the economy, what are some innovative ways we can still activate the city in the meantime? It's not necessarily going to work for everyone, and that's okay. They might prefer to go to other types of groups.
What did Mark McGuinness say to you when he resigned? Did he call you and say, "Hey, it's Mark McGuinness here from Willis Bond"?
Yeah. So we've had a chat about it, and we're still friendly. He still gives me his views on certain things, and we fundamentally disagree on some big things, but we do so respectfully.
Right.
So
he couldn't make the changes that he thought were what he would like to see in the city.
Yeah. No. Like, I think that the feedback from some people is going to be cancel the Golden Mile. That's not the majority.
What was his view on the council?
He would prefer it would have been held off, but I'd rather not speak for him. Actually, I probably shouldn't have said that. And I was very open about not doing that. The rest of the group wanted to go.
Was that why he left?
You'd have to ask him.
Okay. So he was against the Golden Mile. One of the biggest property developers was.
You'd have to ask him.
You said he.
I know, but I also said I don't want to speak for him, and I might be speaking.
He's got a very major holding in that area, so he's got tenants to look after, a major holding, and he said that he didn't want that to go ahead, and still no one's listening.
No, like I said before, Nick, I am listening to everyone. There are a lot of residents, again, the future of our city want this to go ahead. The majority of submissions want this to go ahead.
Okay.
So
but Mark McGuinness didn't want it. You said it, not me.
Fine.
I'm not talking for Mark McGuinness. You said Mark McGuinness didn't want it to go.
Your view seems to be, if I'm not listening to you, I'm not listening to anyone. That's not true. I represent the entire city.
No. I didn't say that. I just said Mark McGuinness told you that he didn't want the Golden Mile.
You said earlier, I'm not listening to anyone. And what I'm telling you is I do listen to everyone.
But you've got an advisory group and you've got a very powerful businessman who's done a lot of wonderful things. His family, if this city wouldn't be the city it is without the things that his family's done, and he's saying, don't go ahead with the Golden Mile, and then he's quitting. Now that tells me something. If it doesn't tell you something, it says a red light to me.
It does tell me something, but again, I also represent a large sector of Wellington that want this project to go ahead. I believe in it. I stood on this project. I was elected.
Okay. All right. So what's the point of having that advisory group if you don't want to listen to them?
Because I welcome conflicting views, and I think that's actually really useful. And we have gone to the Golden Mile and seen where we can tweak the design to make it work for other people. But again, you know, it's okay if people don't agree with a particular project. That doesn't mean cancel it. It just means this is democracy. Views are heard, then we decide and put it through.
It's also how mistakes can be made. Not listening to people.
I agree, but
Okay.
again,
We'll take a short. We'll agree to disagree. We'll take a short break and we'll move on. Let's talk about the Begonia House and City to the Bridge.
Yes.
I mean, I know that you personally wouldn't like to see them both go, but is it just the financial? Oh, I'm actually putting words in your mouth. You might want to see them both go. Sorry, I am putting words in your mouth. Do you want to see Begonia House and the City to Bridge dropped?
I mean, in an ideal world, no, because I do love them both. The problem with the City to Sea Bridge is that it is earthquake prone, and to upgrade it would cost at least $50 million for a full upgrade, over $80 million. What we've learned from the town hall is that it's such a risky upgrade. So to demolish it is about $30 million. So it's a cost thing, as well as, and for those who have said, just keep it up a bit longer. I mean, the risk of it collapsing, even if it was small, that I'm not comfortable with that.
Right. There is no risk of it falling, though, really, is there?
In an earthquake, there is.
Yeah, well, we could be here in an earthquake and it's going to fall and we'll be saying goodbye together.
Well,
I mean, we don't know.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know, but...
couldn't these sort of things just wait a little bit longer? Can't we? I know that you're trying to do these things and I know you're trying to be proactive, but Begonia House is part of our history. City to Bridge, you know, some people might love it and some people might hate it. I'm not a fan of it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't dig it. I don't think it looks as funky as what everyone else does.
Yes.
And I don't think it needs to be there, but I don't want to see it come down.
Well, neither do I, but again, for me, it's quite simple for me. The risk to life or nostalgia. That's how that's what I've put it.
Realistically, if that bridge comes down, me and you both know there's probably going to be one person on it, if we're lucky, or two people. There's never anyone on the damn thing anyway.
So let's just say it was 5:30 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, there'd probably be like a whole bunch of cars under it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Gone, you know?
Is it really that bad? Do you really think it's bad? Because
no,
the engineers are calling the show the whole damn time and telling us it's not that bad and they can get another report to say... we had the same thing at Freiburg, remember? We all thought that Freiburg was stuffed and gone. Then another engineer came in and said it's fine.
Yes, we've had so many reports done, and at some point, we as governors just have to go, okay, this is the information we've received. We're going to make this decision. What we have are other people who generally disagree with it. There's been a little bit of misinformation out there as well. But it's quite simple. It's, again, if it collapses versus holding on to something we love, we're going to repurpose a lot of the art that's put there, a lot of the storytelling, and put it into something new and safe. Back in the day when council decided on upgrading the town hall, when that was earthquake prone, the original quote was something like $50 million. It's now over $300 million. Again, loss of life or cost escalation, I'm not willing to take that risk.
Okay. Begonia House, that's not earthquake risk, it's just old and tatty and needs a bit of love, isn't it?
Yeah, it's old and tatty, and there was a massive storm a few months ago that has basically made it a bit unsafe. However, that one's a little bit easier to deal with, so we have asked officers to bring back options in the new year.
So that's a chance that we could save that?
Maybe, but we've also had people offer to help co-fund it. So we'll look at that legitimately. It's just that the initial quote of upgrading it for $24 million, which is, we can't afford that on our own.
Okay,
so
right.
we'll look at options.
I'll just take a short break and be back. We're with Tory Whanau for the final time this year. We've had the mayors of the Wellington region, or the Wellington inner region, on this week just to wrap the year. We haven't got much time left, but Tory, a couple of questions I've got to finish with. Vision Wellington, concern or non-concern? Have they had any contact? Have they said, hey, we're the Vision of Wellington, can we have a cup of tea with you and help you?
So I actually did have a sit down with Kerry last Friday.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It was a good chat. And look, I know there have been things said in the public, because I didn't like the way it landed, and seeing the text messages to government around the time of a government intervention. That didn't sit well with me. But I did speak to Kerry, and I've seen the news about James Cameron speaking. And, that messaging, that sounds great. Think tank, What I would say to them is, I still don't think it's overly representative of Wellington. My mayoral group, including some new members, I would say represent the next generation of Wellington, and it's also very diverse. If you want a wide range of views, hey, no mai, haere mai. Let's have a chat.
Okay. Last one, yes or no?
Oh, to what?
Well, you know what I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
Are going to stand?
Yes.
100% confirmed right
Yes.
here, right now.
Yes.
On Newstalk ZB.
Yes.
On Wellington Mornings.
Yes.
You got a campaign manager yet? Answer's no. I'm too busy.
Yeah, too busy. This is why I'm looking forward to the summer.
No, I
break.
said I'm too busy if you're going to ask me.
You wouldn't be my manager, would you?
Campaign manager. I said, no.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do all that sort of, campaign political thinking over the break.
But it's 100% yes.
100% yes.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Good on you for making that comment. Good on you for making that stand.
Yeah, I know.
I think people deserve it. I think you deserve it. I think it's great for the city that they know that you are going to stand and they can do what they want. They can vote whatever they want. The people can speak how they want.
Yes.
You're a yes.
And I respect that. I respect democracy. I think the city needs continuity. And yes, while I've been a controversial figure over the last couple of years, I've worked really hard. Our councillors worked really hard. I do love this city. I think we need to work together a lot more. My call to Vision Wellington is let's work together. It's turning into a generational thing. That's not what I want.
Okay. Merry Christmas. I know it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year for a lot of people in Wellington, and it's been a tough year for you. Thank you for always coming and making yourself available to this show, and really good luck.
Thank you,
Have a
Nick.
great summer break. Relax, kick back, go back to the Naki.
I will.
I'm going there as well. So enjoy, and we'll catch you next year.
Thank you, Nick.
All right.